In this video, we'll show you how to install an aftermarket HD9813SG PMX Stage 2 on a 2008 Street Glide. Hey everyone, I'm Eric, and we'll get started by removing the battery terminals. You never want to work on any electronics with the battery connected. Start by using a number 2 Phillips to remove the seat and a T40 Torx to move the ECU cradle out of the way. Once you have access, you can use a 10mm socket or Phillips screwdriver to disconnect the battery terminals. Now we're ready to remove the fairing. First, we'll install the service cover on the fender. Then we'll use a T27 Torx driver to remove 4 bolts on the inside, 2 of which are located in between the forks. Then we'll remove the 3 Torx bolts that hold the visor in place. Now, it's best to have 2 people during this step, one to hold the fairing in position and the other to remove the screws. Once we pull down on the fairing, we'll disconnect any headlight harnesses and remove it from the bike. Now that we have that done, we're ready to remove the gas tank. We'll start off by disconnecting the main gas line. Push up on the hose and slide the collar upward, then pull down the gas line. Next, disconnect the 2 breather lines in the back and detach any harnesses. Note that these may be zip tied underneath. Once that's done, use a 1/2-inch socket to remove the 2 bolts in the back of the gas tank. Then move up to the front and detach the plastic cover to remove the 2 bolts. Once you remove the gas tank, you can finish by using a plastic pry tool to remove the center trough cover. Now we're ready to remove our speakers. We'll start by detaching the fairing crossbars using a 3/16 Allen wrench and a Phillips screwdriver. Next, remove the factory speakers by disconnecting the speaker wires. Note that white is positive and black is negative. Then we'll switch to a T25 Torx to remove 3 screws from the speaker and carefully remove it. On our motorcycle, we have aftermarket speakers installed, so we'll use a number 2 Phillips to remove both the speaker and the crossover. Once you're done, repeat the process on the other side. Now we're ready to install our new speakers. Be sure to use the included hardware that accommodates the slightly different mounting depth of the new speaker's bezel. Position the speaker with the logo facing down and the thick bezel facing up. Insert the 2 longer screws into the top of the speaker and secure them in place using a number 2 Phillips. Using the shorter screw, attach the bracket and finish securing the speaker. Once you're done, repeat the process on the other side. All right, now that's done, we're ready to remove the factory radio. First, use a long reach 3/16 ball end Allen or an L wrench. Remove the 2 screws from each side of the radio. Then detach the OEM harness from the radio by lifting on the tab and removing the antenna. Once you're done, carefully remove the radio by sliding it out at an angle from the back. All right, now we're ready to install our new source unit. To get started, use a clean, slightly damp microfiber cloth to remove any dust around the fairing's opening. To make it easier, we suggest using a 3/16 Allen to remove 2 screws from the top of the radio bracket. Then, insert the radio at an angle into the rear bracket housing. Be careful with the front of the radio not to hit the gauges or catch anything around the rubberized dust shield. Now, use a 3/16 Allen to secure the radio using the existing 4 bolts and secure the top brackets back in place with the 2 screws. Once we're done, reconnect the OEM harness by clicking it back into place. Use a T10 Torx to open the access door on the back of your radio and connect your RCA output harness. Then finally plug in your antenna. Now we'll replace the cigarette lighter with our USB cable. This can be tight, so you may need a step-up bit to slightly open up the hole. Now we're ready to install our power harness. Take the power connector side of our harness and run it up the clutch side to the amplifier location, where it will be mounted on the top of the source unit. All right, let's take a moment to explain the harnesses included in our Street Glide kit. There are several wiring harnesses, so let's break them out. This is the front input cable used to connect the audio from our factory harness to the amplifier. This is the front output cable used to connect our speakers to the amplifier. Now, there are some additional cables included. If you have a tour pack, you'll use this to tap into the factory wiring and power the speakers. Finally, the rear radio harness is used to get the rear audio from the radio and connect the amplifier to our bag lid speakers. We've also included 2 Y adapters. These go on the front and rear output channels of the amplifier. This allows you to add additional speakers to the amplifier in the future. In the Amplifier Installation Kit, you'll notice multiple brackets. This is the main amplifier mounting bracket. This one is for installing into a batwing fairing, and this one is for shark nose fairings. Now we're ready to prep our amplifier for installation. We'll use the small L bracket, heatsink, and 2 flush mount screws from our amp mounting kit. Position the heatsink upside down with the heatsink fins facing you and the L bracket with the Diamond R logo facing down. We'll use a 2mm Allen to secure 2 of the flush mount screws into the 9813 Street Glide holes. We'll flip the assembly over and secure our amplifier in place using 4 button head screws using a 2.5mm Allen. Note the position of the Rockford Fosgate logo in relation to the heatsink fins. Now we're ready to tune our amplifier. We offer this amp tuning guide that's available in the description of this video and through this kit's product details page at rockfordfosgate.com. There are 3 options for tuning the amplifier based on the radio that you're using. To get started, use the included Allen wrench to remove the smoke cover. Then use a small flathead screwdriver to make any adjustments necessary on the amplifier. All right, now we're ready to install the amplifier. To get started, we'll use a T10 Torx to remove 2 screws from the back of the source unit and secure the amp assembly on top. Now we're ready to wire our amplifier. We'll take the front input cable, noting white is positive and black is negative, and connect the right side input to the right factory terminals, and the harness labeled left side input to the left factory terminals. Once you're done, connect the Molex into the amplifier's front input. Next, connect both Y adapters to the front output and the rear output harnesses. Then, connect the front output cable into one of the Y adapters on the amplifier's front output. Connect the cable labeled right side output to the right speaker, noting red is positive and black is negative. Then finish by connecting the cable labeled left side output to the left speaker. Once you're done with that, attach the 35-pin rear radio harness into the back of the source unit. This harness is for future upgrades and will not be used in this installation. Then, plug the power connector into the amplifier, noting the blue turn-on wire is not used in this configuration. All right, now that we got most of the wiring completed in the fairing, let's take a second to clean up using the provided zip ties. With batwing fairings, we need to get the cables tucked up as far under as possible to allow for reinstallation of the fairing. Now we can start to reassemble and make our battery connections. We'll clean up our wiring, reinstall the center trough, install our gas tank, and make our battery connections. Now we're ready to test and tune the system. Refer to your tuning guide for testing procedures and make any adjustments as needed. For PMX models, you can always download the latest software at rockfordfosgate.com. Now that everything is working properly, let's finish reassembling your motorcycle and get it back out on the road. As you can see, that install was pretty straightforward. If you prefer a professional do the install for you, we have a network of authorized Rockford Fosgate dealers that can be found on our website. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact our technical support. They can be reached Monday through Friday at 1-800-669-9899 or through live chat at the bottom of our website at rockfordfosgate.com. I'm Eric, and we'll see you again soon.